This is my first time inside of a Waymo, and we're going down the windiest street in San Francisco. Even though it looks like no one's driving this car, not this Waymo, not Tesla in full self-driving, none of these cars are fully autonomous, no matter how good they seem to be at navigating the roads. Waymos only operate in specific geofenced locations. And Tesla's full self-driving mode requires eyes on the road and hands by the wheel. Whoa, don't do that. And when any of these things get stuck, they require the intervention of a human to tell it what to do.
Hello, this is Casey with Waymo Fleet Response.
So I should just close the door?
Yeah.
Okay, cool, I'm gonna do that. Self-driving cars are coming soon to a city near you. But we still don't know how many humans it takes to drive them. So why is it so hard to get robotaxis right? And which company could be the first to unlock this trillion-dollar market? There are two main players already vying to bring robotaxis to American roads. Waymo and Tesla have two very different approaches to autonomy, and when you see them side by side, that's extremely clear. The Waymo has Lidar, radar, 29 cameras all around the vehicle. The Lidar spins out laser pulses to build a high-resolution map of nearby cars, cyclists, and pedestrians. Radar uses radio waves to track how fast objects are moving and how far away they are, even through rain, fog, and dust. Cameras read colors, signs, and signals. In case you're wondering what happens if you touch one of these things, literally nothing. It's spinning at a speed that's not unsafe, and it doesn't break it to do that, but don't do that at home. Tesla has just 8 cameras, barely visible and all. Elon Musk has called Lidar a fool's errand and something that is expensive and unnecessary. Tesla's camera-only approach has an advantage: cost. It's way cheaper to have a self-driving car navigate with cameras and AI than to have all the additional sensors that a Waymo does. But there's a downside. Some of the experts I spoke to said the camera-only approach will never truly be safe.
If you're serious about self-driving, you don't have just a single sensor.
Using camera only is like tying one hand behind your back when you could also use a Lidar. It's certainly taking the hard path.
And why that matters is because this car right here, if Tesla can prove that this car is safe enough and can self-drive everywhere in the country, every Tesla on the road today could become a cyber taxi overnight. Fundamentally, two different approaches to how self-driving cars navigate.
Please close the right side rear door. Thanks.
Now let's talk about what makes them different from human drivers. There's a very long list of fairly normal driving scenarios that robotaxis struggle with that aren't an issue for any normally skilled human driver. Here's one. Teslas don't always stop for school buses.
It just carries on.
It was 100%. When we first started testing, it was 100% of the time.
That's Dan O'Dowd. He's a critical systems engineer who designed the software that runs in F-35 fighter jets and nuclear bombers.
The kids would line up and watch us run over the mannequins, the kids in the school. Their parents would come out, or the teachers would come out and say, "Oh my God, it ran over that little kid who's just walking across the road."
Over the years, Dan has probably spent millions of his own dollars trying to show how Tesla's full self-driving software has major design flaws. Like Tesla's driving on the wrong side of the road.
There can be a do not enter sign on both sides of a street saying do not enter, and it'll go right down that street because it doesn't see those signs.
And even failing a driving test.
Get me out of here.
Would have failed the test.
Even after paying for 2 Super Bowl ads, Dan said he was shocked at the response.
90% agree that this should be banned immediately. Why does NHTSA allow Tesla full self-driving?
And it did make a nice splash, but Tesla didn't do a thing.
Well, that's not entirely true. The company did send the Dawn Project a cease and desist letter. Dan thinks that people should boycott Tesla until the company proves that their full self-driving software is safe.
Pull the product off the market, FSD. That doesn't mean pull the Teslas off the market. You can still drive your car. You assign 10 engineers or 100 engineers or whatever it takes to do it, and you fix that problem, and now you can go back on the road.
Before the Tesla stands jump into the comments and say, oh, version 14 of FSD is so much better, Well, the Dawn project tested the latest version too. And guess what? The Teslas are still passing school buses and ignoring the school speed limit zones.
Just to be clear, they have made improvements. 1 out of every 5 times it will not stop.
But it's not just Tesla. Waymo is under investigation in Austin, Texas for passing school buses. And in Santa Monica, a Waymo hit a 9-year-old outside of a school during dismissal. Thankfully, the child wasn't seriously injured. I was holding off on explaining this until now, but for the rest of the video, there's a concept you need to understand. The SAE 6 levels of automation. Let's start with level 0. Level 0 is a car that has no automation. That's most of the cars on the road today. Level 1 automation is when the car can steer or brake on its own, but not both at the same time. So that's kind of like the lane assist in my mom's Honda CR-V.
Wow.
Yeah.
I really do think it is.
It's the first time you used it?
I didn't even know I had it.
Level 2 sounds simple, but it actually is more complicated. And it's where most of today's self-driving hype lives. Level 2 is when the car can steer and brake on its own, but it requires the human to still be paying attention to the road. And even though it seems way more capable, Tesla FSD is still only a level 2 driver assist program. Oh, it gave me a warning that I took my eyes off the road for too long.
And that allows them to evade all the robotaxi regulations, because the robotaxi regulations only apply when you say that you're level 3 or above.
But here's the thing about level 3, it comes with what engineers call the handoff problem. It means that it's automated until suddenly it calls for human assistance and you need to step in right away. Level 4 is where things start to look autonomous. There's nobody in the driver's seat. And yes, Waymo is level 4 most of the time.
But sometimes they get stuck. And when they get stuck, Waymo says, well, there's just sort of phone a friend. And that friend helps the robotaxi complete the driving task, which makes them partially a driver.
Level 5 means that the car can drive itself anywhere, at any time, and under any circumstances. It's the holy grail of autonomy, but it doesn't exist yet. And there's another thing that's keeping robotaxis from being fully autonomous: Mother Nature. Not a lot of people on the roads today. It's one of the worst snowstorms we've had in New York in a couple of years now. But gotta go clean off my car. Comes with the territory, you know. Storm like this, when you get like a foot of snow, you gotta clean off your car a couple times.
It's so cold. It's 19 degrees.
For cameras and sensors, snow is especially problematic. It can erase lines on the road and make everything look like a blank white sheet. Plus, those snowflakes can create noise inside the Lidar and radar sensors, and even block the cameras. Waymo says their cars are already driving year-round in snowy conditions in 10 states, including New York, Michigan, Colorado, and Minnesota, in addition to earlier testing in California. The Jaguar I-Pace Waymos already have sensor cleaning technology, and the upcoming Ojai model will build on that with improved cleaning technology for heavier weather conditions. Are you engineering for snow now? Tell me more. Talk more about that.
So that's happening in the next release, right? The newer version of the car, right? The Ojai, is going to have cleaning technology that's better than our current version. Right. And so all of that gets us ready for driving in heavy snow.
Right. On the other hand, you can see a lot of videos online of people using full self-driving in their Tesla in snowy conditions like this one. And they say it handles pretty well.
And I am just so happy right now that FSD is driving this way in this snow.
Waymo admits that winter weather scenarios are underrepresented in their training models. Now, in order to make up for that training, when they don't have cars in scenarios like this, they've added to their simulated models to help train the cars to get better at dealing with winter weather. Those simulations can also be used to deal with what engineers call the long tail problem. Things like encountering wet cement, or a car hauling a tree that's swaying in the back, or a man in a wheelchair chasing a duck across the road. Those are all real life things that actually happened. When I met with Chris from Waymo, he told me that the company's recently unveiled world model can help tackle these rare safety cases.
Transform scenarios from a dry condition to a snowy condition, as an example. And this allows you to multiply the data. And what we find is that while there are many long tail scenarios, we have a corpus of data that actually has allowed us to reach levels of performance that are showing up in the result.
That was a Jaguar followed by the new Ojai model. Now that Waymo World model can help the cars learn from situations that the cars may never actually encounter in real life. And some of the demonstrations they have on their website include driving into a tornado and dealing with a charging elephant in the middle of the road.
The catch with the simulation is, if the simulation doesn't have something in it, then you'll never train against it. As a really simple example, if your simulation doesn't have any moose in it, the first time you see a moose, you're going to have an edge case you're not trained for. So simulations can help, but ultimately, if the edge case is not in the simulation, you have not really solved the problem.
So by some estimates, before they can truly say that these cars are safer than human drivers, robotaxis should expect to clock billions or maybe trillions of miles so they can see as many of these edge cases as possible.
Humans are not nearly as dangerous as the self-driving car industry wants us to believe. That's actually pretty good. We have a lot of fatalities because there are trillions of miles driven. It's just a numbers game.
But there's no amount of computing power that can predict how the public will react when something goes wrong. And that's why we're headed to the Mission District. I'm on 16th Street in the Mission District outside Randa's Market. I wanted to take you here because this is the location of one of the saddest stories in the rolling out of Waymo so far. So Randa's Market, there was a cat here named Kit Kat who was adopted by the owner and lived here and was known as the mayor of 16th Street. Everybody loved this bodega cat. We talked to some of the guys who hang out on this block and they told me some nice stories about the cat.
We would roll around over here, get on his back and on the stomach and everything. And
Yeah,
all the homies, man. All the homies.
Yeah.
Everybody.
So what was your reaction when you heard the news?
I didn't even cry. I was just really mad.
The story goes, at 11:30 at night after the shop was closed up, the cat was here on the curb. A Waymo pulled up to drop someone off. And right as the Waymo was pulling away, the cat darted under the car. A female bystander saw this and tried to coax the cat out, but the Waymo started to drive off, killing Kit Kat. In this case, a human driver might have seen the woman searching under the car and investigated before pulling away. It led to a big public outcry. There were protesters. There was a media conference here with some elected officials. They now sell memorabilia, merchandise. I paid 25 bucks for this hat. Remember Kit Kat? There's a shrine here. And why is this important? Obviously, Kit Kat wasn't the first animal killed by a self-driving car and won't be the last, but you can see how when you have something as beloved as this bodega cat, it really sets people off and it brings negative attention onto this kind of robotaxi coming through their neighborhood.
Every time I see a Waymo, I spit on it.
For real?
I'm not gonna lie.
We are gonna be meeting with Waymo this week. We're going to one of their lots. We're interviewing some of their executives. If you could say a message to them, what would you say to those people?
Do they think they took responsibility for what happened?
Right. Did they feel like they took responsibility?
They went about it right, correctly.
Yeah. In other words, they have a long way to go before they earn the trust of the people.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Kit Kat remains a cautionary tale, but a single accident can bring down a multi-billion-dollar fleet. And in San Francisco, that already happened.
Cruise, which was operated by GM, suspended operations in 2023 after one of its cars dragged a woman underneath it. She was seriously injured, and that pretty much was the death knell for that service in the city.
So I have the incident report here from the San Francisco Fire Department. They utilized the spreaders and cribbing to remove the individual, and she was later transported code 3 to San Francisco General Hospital with significant trauma. Right now I'm under an underpass, and I'm next to a parking lot, but why am I here? Look through here. You see that? This is what a robotaxi graveyard looks like. The cars in there are literally sitting around just gathering dust and grime. You would have thought that maybe they would have moved them somewhere else. Between Kit Kat and Cruise, it's clear that self-driving cabs pose a risk to both pedestrians and pets. And even if that safety record improves, none of these companies can yet answer the trillion-dollar question. How many people does it take to drive a robotaxi? Congress pressed Waymo on where its remote assistance workers are located. Waymo says they had already disclosed this to regulators and the press, but the hearing was the first time many in the public had heard it.
In what countries are these employees located?
The Philippines.
Jimmy?
The Philippines.
So they are in the Philippines.
Yeah.
Mr. Pena, that is completely unacceptable. And here's why.
Waymo revealed they have around 70 remote assistance agents on duty. Around half of them are overseas.
So if that remote person is in the Philippines, you have some issues of jurisdiction and accountability.
But whether it's 70 workers or 700, I had a personal experience that tested the limits of what Waymo's remote assistants are able to do. I was supposed to go pick up my colleague Lloyd and then head to Mountain View to interview executives at Waymo HQ. He lives in an area with terrible cell phone service, so when the Waymo passed his house, I had no way to tell it to turn back around.
I still don't have service. And the app is not working.
Okay.
Now the app looks like this.
This turned into a 30-minute ordeal with the remote assistance team.
Even if you tried turning off and opening your data as well, it's not really working?
I'll try that.
Okay. Just let me know if there's still an issue, okay?
They were unable to get the trip started again, and I had to wait for my coworker Lloyd to show up and save the day.
Lloyd, dude, I told it to put, okay. First of all, cell phone reception in your neighborhood is not great. Lloyd, help me. Lloyd, help me, man.
Finally, Lloyd, who had cell reception, was able to order a new robotaxi, and we continued on our way to Waymo HQ in Mountain View.
Nice cardigan. Bye-bye, Waymo. All right, let's see.
Lloyd Lee writes for Business Insider about self-driving vehicles.
Really, the Smiths?
In terms of like how many humans are operating each robotaxi, it's kind of hazy because you have the people in the call centers, the remote support agents, but you also have people at the depots who have to charge and maintain these robotaxis. And then of course there's the engineers who are sort of supporting the whole robotaxi push.
In simple terms, why does it matter how often a human has to intervene in these rides?
I feel like it shows the maturity of the technology, or another way to put it, how autonomous are your autonomous cars if you constantly need a human holding its hand?
That was made brutally clear in December 2025, when a major blackout in San Francisco showed how fragile current AV systems are. More than 800 Waymo vehicles were in the outage area and experienced over 1,500 stoppages. Waymo says 96% of those stoppages resolved autonomously, but the remaining vehicles blocked intersections and created problems for first responders and other drivers. Something as common as a blackout should have been part of the simulation, and even if it was, Waymo looked like they weren't prepared. So today I'm at Waymo's San Fran depot to see how the humans behind these robotaxis are keeping them on the road. There has to be at least 60, 70, maybe 100 people working here right now. There's a big crew of people. It looks like there's a bunch of different job functions. Everyone's wearing yellow work vests, and they're servicing these Waymos as they come in. You can see the charging stations here. We've got our gloves, our spray bottles, vacuum cleaners. It would seem that they go through a ton of towels based on the fact that they have one for Wednesday, one for Tuesday, one for Monday. That's Monday's towels. 1 day of towels. And that's all the dirty towels. There's different lights, colored lights on each of the vehicles, and there's a chart that I guess is to let the workers know what kind of service each one of those vehicles requires at the time. You've got things like a biological / lost item, which I'm guessing is like, food, or maybe someone threw up in the back, or maybe there's, something that what I did, like an idiot, is leave their wallet in the back, which, by the way, I was able to retrieve. Thank you, Waymo. Yes, thank you, Waymo. Thank you, Waymo. Thank you, Waymo.
The robotaxis do not have to be fully autonomous for this to make sense as a solution. The number is never going to be zero. If you have the same number of people involved in the robotaxi, but they're outside of the car instead of inside of the car, I don't see how you make this economically viable.
I didn't get this conversation on record, but I did meet someone while I was here who's a Waymo driver. And that means that basically he gets paid to sit in the driver's seat of the Waymo and either drive manually, and his moves, everything he does is recorded and sent back to train the data, or he's driving in autonomous mode and he does what he calls triage. So he uses these buttons on the steering wheel to send data back to the developers. One thing that stuck to me is that he told me that there are stretches, especially when you're driving around in autonomous mode, that he starts to drift off. And the front seat actually notices and buzzes or shakes him awake, which I thought was pretty funny. So while the future of self-driving cars might look sleek from the outside, there's humans at every step of the way driving these things to train them, tagging data on the back end, cleaning them, servicing them, handling remote operator calls, and getting shaken awake when they fall asleep at the wheel.
How would you characterize the moment we're in right now in terms of the deployment of robotaxis, at least in America?
People like to think that we're 99% there because there are hundreds, and in one case, a couple thousand robotaxis out there on public roads driving around. And it feels like we're almost there, that it's almost solved. It feels like it's 99% done. But I think of it a different way. The difference between having a couple hundred robotaxis and a couple million robotaxis is dramatic. There's still many, many issues with safety and deployment and scalability. And so I think of it as, well, we're done with the first 99%, but we still have another 99% to go.
Now we're up to full speed on the freeway. It's going 65. And not bad, not terrible. If it's not clear from the depot, owning and operating a fleet of vehicles is an astronomical cost. So that's why anybody who's trying to make a robotaxi business work is trying to reduce those costs as fast as possible. And their newest generation of cars are actually going to be not the Jaguar I-Pace, which costs an estimated $150K, but they're going to be based on the Hyundai Ioniq, and that is estimated to be about half the cost.
What remains unclear is how much that cost reduction will help Waymo close the gap in pricing with other rideshare services like Uber and Lyft.
So I downloaded this app, it's called Hackney, and it basically compares the prices between Uber, Lyft, and Waymo. The price that came up on the Waymo is $13.05. Just regular UberX is $23, so it's even twice because of the surge pricing, and it's got $11.91. So in this case, Lyft would have been the winner.
According to analysis by journalist Om Malik, Waymo needs to be targeting more expensive rides, like $30 a pop, just to make the numbers work on their current $126 billion valuation. But right now, it seems like Waymo is more in a spaghetti phase. They're throwing everything at the wall and seeing what sticks. In Nashville, Lyft manages the fleet for Waymo. And in Dallas, Avis takes that job. In Austin and Atlanta, Waymo rides are booked through the Uber app, but Uber is responsible for managing the fleet.
We've tried to keep all of our options open, keep all the doors open. And so we're learning a lot right now from the different types of models that exist in each of these markets, and are going to continue to explore as we expand to more cities. We recently shared that we've been doing deliveries with DoorDash.
Waymo may be taking that partnership literally. They've been paying DoorDashers to show up at stranded Waymos just to close the door.
I don't think we're at a point in time where we want to say this is the one way to do it and this other way is not the way to do it. It's so early in the widespread deployment of these things that I think it's premature to kind of declare one way or the other.
Now, Tesla's model is radically different. They're selling cars to consumers today with the promise that in the future, they'll become self-driving cabs that can earn money for the owners when they're not using them.
It will be like an Airbnb thing. You can add or subtract your car to the fleet whenever you want. Your car gets added to the fleet and it just makes money for you while you're gone. Yeah.
Markets seem to be bullish on Tesla getting their cybercab business off the ground. Morgan Stanley analysts expect 1 million cybercabs on the road by 2035. And this chart shows how they're projecting that robotaxis will take over a third of all rideshare miles in the years to come. But overall, self-driving car use will remain pretty flat. But if robotaxis remain a novelty, how will these companies deliver on their biggest promise? That their cars are safer than human drivers. Every year, there are over 40,000 deaths on American roads. That makes this country the most dangerous developed nation to drive in. That's a death rate of about 12 people per 100,000 population. There are several explanations for this, including the fact that drivers are more aggressive and distracted than ever before. The argument goes that robotaxis never drive tired or get drunk, and that they're already safer than human drivers. And as we see more of them on the road, they could reduce traffic fatalities to near zero. Waymo does have a pretty good record so far.
At least right now, on par with Uber and Lyft drivers, which is to say that they have accidents about 4 to 6 times more often than your average driver, which is an amazing achievement. I want people to understand, I think Waymo has done a very good job of getting at least on par with a more high accident population, but still they've done a pretty good job.
But what if I told you that some people have already seen enough to say that robotaxis will actually make streets more dangerous, and that they're willing to go to extreme lengths to prove it? In 2023, as robotaxis started to take over the streets of San Francisco, a group of activists calling themselves Safe Street Rebels started staging protests.
No one's in it.
Basically, they figured out that if you take an orange traffic cone and put it on the hood of a Waymo, it can stop it dead in its tracks.
It was us showing through a very passive and peaceful object of just a cone that this technology is not as good as it seems. We never ever once destroyed a car. We were never vandals. We were also showing that the technology just in its inherent form didn't work very well.
For example, I don't think it happened here, but in LA, when you had some of these anti-ICE protests, people really took their rage out on Waymos. I don't know if that was just convenience or if that was like a targeted thing, but there's some pretty gnarly videos of people just taking rage out on Waymos.
Yeah, that wasn't Safe Street Rebel. But I do think it speaks to something that's, people are really fed up broadly with big tech right now. They're really fed up with the ways that corporations have gotten away with so much. To see how many times Waymo has injured someone, injured someone's pet, injured someone's loved one, caused havocs, blocked an emergency vehicle, to see all of these times that Waymo has messed up, we have to ask who's being prioritized. Is it the driverless car companies or is it the people? And it really feels like the driverless car companies, and I think people are really fed up with that.
Adding cars to the equation never makes the situation safer. My biggest frustration that I have heard a lot is they're the future. And it's just like, we thought Laserdisc was the future.
Ren and Austin took us on a tour of their hometown to give us a look at the car-free future they're hoping to build.
Oh, there it goes. Yep, right past me.
This is a slow street right here. The intention of the design is that cars only drive to destinations on the block they enter. They don't drive multiple blocks up and down the street. You can see behind us right here a set of barriers in the street that block the incoming lane.
Yeah, I mean, you can just see with the sheer number of people riding past us, these are some of the most alive streets in San Francisco. Yeah, slow streets work. They're a very, very effective design of traffic calming, but Waymos don't act like humans, and traffic calming is designed for humans. They are not really understanding the barriers, so there can be a lot of issues.
There's one right
now.
now.
It actually looks like there's one. So this is a Waymo waiting in the middle of the intersection so that it can get into a slow street, and it's giving up.
They also showed us Sunset Dunes, which was a strip of oceanside highway that was recently converted to a car-free park.
It's just a wonderful place where everyone can come together and enjoy the beach.
There's something that a Waymo will never be able to do that public transit and biking and slow streets do, which is bring community and get people outside talking to their neighbors. Our slow streets are some of the liveliest streets in our city where neighbors know each other. They host really wonderful block parties.
If the real goal is fewer people dying on the road, autonomy isn't the only answer. It might not even be the best or fastest one. Last year, Helsinki, Finland announced something remarkable: 0 traffic deaths. Not 0 pedestrian deaths, 0 traffic deaths, period. They didn't get there with self-driving cars. They didn't wait for AI to solve human behavior. They did it by slowing cars down. City officials lowered speed limits across residential areas and the city center, enforced them with speed cameras, and redesigned streets to make driving feel less comfortable. Roads were narrowed, trees were planted closer to traffic. The city invested heavily in public transit, cycling infrastructure, and walkable streets. The logic was simple. Slower cars means fewer deaths, and data backs that up. Drop a car's impact speed from 40 kilometers per hour to 30, and the risk of killing a pedestrian is cut in half. And here's a shocker: half of traffic fatalities are the 9% of people who still don't buckle up. What if we just make seatbelts great again? As we pour billions into teaching cars how to drive like humans, places like Helsinki are quietly asking a different question. What if we just stop designing cities that let cars kill people in the first place? And that may end up being the hardest problem autonomy can't solve. So, what happens next? Waymo keeps expanding, Tesla keeps shipping new versions of full self-driving, and to be fair, there is real progress. In early 2025, Waymo reported 0 at-fault injury crashes across more than 7 million fully driverless miles. There are asterisks to that safety record.
And the reason that you're seeing very, very low highway miles out of Waymo is because this is where it's really dangerous. When you're going 65 miles an hour, this is when you can kill someone. So I do think that highway driving is going to continue to be an albatross around their neck, as is scaling. I think Waymo is, the more that they try to increase the fleet size, the holes in the dikes are really starting to show.
Right now, what we see is Tesla is not yet even into scale-up mode. They're still trying to get their technology reliable enough that they can start to scale without human drivers involved. This is not an overnight success story. This has always been a multi-decade slog. And now we're a decade or two in, and there's another decade or two to go.
So if Waymos remain a city-by-city grind and Teslas remain a driver assist system, where will we see full level 5 drive anywhere, anytime autonomy first? Probably somewhere like the port you hear behind me. Oakland has one of the largest ports in the country, and we're standing here. You can see a constant stream of large trucks and shipping containers getting unloaded from cargo ships, coming and going all day, every day. This is one of the busiest ports in America.
I expect it's much easier to succeed, and we've already seen successes in things like transportation in closed environments like ports or logistics hubs, things like this. Those are the easy pickings, and that's where it's much easier to have success.
You could just see these epic lines of trucks, and every single one of these guys is in their truck because they're moving up probably 50, 100 feet every few minutes. And just imagine a world where they could leave their trucks and maybe go take a break or whatever, and it would still move itself into line into the loading zone. That's kind of the dream of what autonomy would look like in a place like this.
I just felt like the robotaxi application at the time didn't tick all the boxes. It wasn't as compelling of an opportunity.
Kodiak CEO Don Burnett worked on Google's self-driving cars. He didn't leave because the tech stopped improving. He left because trucking offered a more realistic path to real-world autonomy. Kodiak's approach reflects where most experts think autonomy will arrive first. Industrial sites like the Permian Basin, where Kodiak already runs highly autonomous operations.
We work with a company called Atlas Energy. They're a sand mining company that provides fracking sand for the oil and gas wells. The misconception about the Permian is that it's actually remote and therefore there's no traffic. These roads are heavily trafficked. There's a tremendous amount of trucks going in and out, delivering supplies, delivering sand, delivering fuel, delivering water, delivering electricity. And by the way, when I say these trucks are driverless, they truly have nobody in the cab. There's no observer, and we don't require remote monitoring. So they are truly on their own out there. We fully trust them to do all the tasks that a human would normally do in the truck, delivering across that entire, multi-hour load delivery back and forth.
In mining, in the closed industrial environments, level 5 is a thing, and it's been a thing for a long time. Look, it's the perfect setting. Dull, dirty, dangerous. You can control the environment. You can control the people working in that environment. Rio Tinto is the company I've worked with directly, but many others have followed suit since then.
Automation, at least in terms of self-driving trucks and things like that, is kind of old hat in your industry already.
Yeah, we've been on an autonomous journey for over 15 years at Rio Tinto, where we started off with building the operations center, which is right behind me here, where there's 600 people controlling the vast array of activity that occurs 1,500 kilometers away in the Pilbara. The first technology that we implemented was autonomous trucks. The way we control activity here in the control room does vary from activity to activity. For example, our autonomous drills can be operated of one person up to 8 drills. For autonomous trucks, one person can operate up to 20 trucks.
Despite the concerns and criticisms, the expansion of robotaxis seems inevitable. I even saw Waymo in Lower Manhattan. The company confirmed this car was driving autonomously with a trained specialist behind the wheel.
This is the first time I'm seeing a Waymo in New York City. This is crazy. Look at this. It's here, but it's got a guy behind it. It's coming. It's coming to New York City. This is crazy. There it goes, right outside our office.
After spending about 6 or 7 hours total in Waymos, my experience is that the Waymo driver feels like someone who's just learning how to drive. A little too hesitant, a little too heavy on the brake, and definitely making some decisions that I found to be questionable.
Oh my gosh. It's like driving with somebody who learned how to drive a month ago. People cut these cars off a lot because they know it's not a person, so they don't give a shit. And then it just like jerk, you know? I'm definitely gonna get motion sickness before the end of this video. I'm gonna barf. And every single time it does something like that, if I had an Uber or Lyft driver who did that, I would be giving them a 1 or 2 star rating. I'm sorry.
When I took a test drive of Tesla full self-driving, it just felt way less hesitant and more like a human driver.
You know, there's a couple moments in everyone's life when they interact with a piece of technology that just absolutely blows their mind. I can't believe what we experienced just now, and gonna need to take a minute to process this.
So are AVs actually safer than human drivers? That may be the wrong question.
When we say someone is safer than a human, right? It's a very weak argument for the general public.
High-level statistics about safety are just not how people judge these vehicles. They judge them incident by incident. And every weird maneuver, every viral video, and every news story about a robotaxi doing something it's not supposed to do costs the industry more than any high-level safety statistic can buy back.
If you're selling on perfection, every picture makes you look bad.
So here's a different pitch for robotaxis that Phil thinks might actually work.
We try and make the fewest mistakes possible. We're transparent that we fixed it, and when we fixed it, it really stays fixed. And by the way, we're not going to hide anything. You can trust us to be transparent, to be good road users. Nobody's perfect.
Not perfect, but always improving. Then you can market robotaxis to users who have already expressed high interest in them. Parents who are too busy to schlep their kids to all the different places they need to go. And people who just never want to deal with another person in the car. And here is where I'll leave you. It's important to keep in mind that many companies have already tried and failed in the robotaxi endeavor. Argo AI, the startup from Ford and VW, shut down. Apple quietly scrapped their self-driving car program after spending billions of dollars on it. And Lyft and Uber sold off their autonomous vehicle units. But those rideshare players are reinvesting in the technology, and more companies are entering the space. Zoox, owned by Amazon, is already operating in Las Vegas and San Francisco. Tesla already has cybercabs rolling off the factory floor. Lucid unveiled their robotaxi concept, and NVIDIA wants to build the technology stack behind all of it.
It's more peaceful than humans driving.
These robotaxis will continue to be a mix of impressive, frustrating, and potentially dangerous. But whatever happens next, whenever you see a self-driving car on the road, know that right now, someone, somewhere, is behind the wheel. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video, and if you enjoyed this, we've got 4 other episodes of The Limit on Business Insider's YouTube page. We did one about why it's so hard to bring back supersonic planes, what's the maximum weight that a human being can lift. We did one on why living in space is almost impossible, and you can also check out our video about why a mile-high skyscraper is almost impossible. Thanks again for watching.